Ken smiled with a touch of nostalgia. Your parents were always quite a handful, he remarked. My mother-in-law nodded, her lips curling into a slight smug grin. Now that they're gone, I can be honest. Growing up with them, it's no surprise you had trouble becoming independent. She turned her eyes on me, her gaze piercing and her tone dripping with condescension. If I had raised you, Maya, you'd have turned out to be a person of real character, like Ken. Her words cut through me, each one a sharp reminder of the insult to my parents' memory. Only a week had passed since their tragic accident, and I was still too overwhelmed by grief to argue. My parents had been good, respectable people, and I longed to defend them. I wanted to fire back. If your mother had raised me, I'd probably have ended up as vile as your son, but the words wouldn't come. I was too exhausted, my body feeling like a weight, my mind too drained to form a response. I just sat there, silently swallowing the sting, unable to stand up for my parents. Just when despair was beginning to take hold, Ella, my 16-year-old daughter, stormed into the room, her voice filled with anger. You have no right to act so superior, she said sharply, locking eyes with my mother-in-law. I know the truth. Her words were like a spark, reigniting something deep inside me. From that moment forward, Ella and I began to fight back together. I'm Maya, 38 years old, a stay-at-home mom. I married Ken 16 years ago after an unexpected pregnancy, and since then, my life has revolved around our daughter, Ella. I had to leave university because of health issues during my pregnancy, a decision that I sometimes regret. But when I see Ella succeeding, I know it was worth it. She's smart, talented, and hardworking. She even earned a computer certification in middle school and got featured in a local paper. Though I'm not tech-savvy, I admire her determination and ability to push forward. She's always cheerful, has lots of friends, and is the brightest part of my life. Sadly, my marriage with Ken has been less fulfilling. In the beginning, his words, "Your support is what keeps me going," made me feel loved. I envisioned a bright future together, but reality soon shattered those dreams. During my pregnancy, I was bedridden for long periods because of severe morning sickness and back pain. Instead of offering support, Ken would scold me. Aren't you going to make dinner? Don't slack off on your housework, he'd snap, showing no care for how I was feeling. When Ella was born, Ken didn't even come to the hospital, using work as an excuse. I didn't see him until we were discharged. That's when my feelings for him began to fade. I stayed in the marriage for Ella's sake, afraid I wouldn't be able to raise her alone or afford her a private education. I tolerated Ken's increasing arrogance, his criticism of everything I did, even though I worked so hard to be the perfect wife. By our 10th anniversary, he had stopped calling me by my name altogether. My mother-in-law was no better. She often came over when Ken wasn't home and unleashed a barrage of hurtful comments. A woman with no career or education doesn't belong by Ken's side. You're lucky he married you, she'd say, criticizing every inch of the house and finding even the smallest speck of dust to complain about. I tried to confront Ken about it once. Why? Why did you change? You were so kind before we married, I asked, my voice trembling with frustration. His response was cold and dismissive. I'm busy running a company, unlike you, who does nothing all day. I eventually confided in my parents, letting all the frustration out. Their support was a lifeline I didn't even know I needed. Divorce him, they said. We'll help you start over. But when they confronted Ken, his tears convinced them to give him another chance. At home, his remorse quickly faded. How dare you humiliate me like that? He shouted, his anger smothering any remaining hope I had. It's embarrassing to rely on your parents as an adult. If we divorce, our reputation will be ruined. Can't you understand something so simple? His angry tirade echoed through the house while Ella stood by, her face unreadable. My days became a constant struggle with no relief in sight. 8 years later, tragedy struck. My parents died in a car accident, allegedly caused by mistakenly pressing the accelerator instead of the brake. I was devastated, unable to comprehend the loss. In the midst of grief, I was forced to handle the funeral arrangements on my own as their only child. My husband made his feelings clear. It's your parents' funeral, you deal with it, he said, coldly leaving for work as usual. Despite his indifference, Ken showed up at the funeral, dressed in new clothes and putting on a solemn face for the sake of appearances. The irony wasn't lost on me. I hadn't even been allowed to buy new clothes. A week later, the true extent of his feelings became clear. My husband and mother-in-law arrived at my house, their smiles full of smug satisfaction. "We always had trouble with your parents," Ken said with a grin. "But now that they're gone," he added, his tone dripping with relief. My mother-in-law agreed. "If I had raised you, you'd be a fine person, like Ken. Your parents obviously failed." Their words felt like daggers. Still reeling from the loss of my parents and the weight of my marriage, I couldn't summon the strength to respond. All I could do was silently apologize to my parents, feeling like I had failed them. Just when I thought I couldn't take any more, Ella appeared, her face fierce with determination as she confronted my husband and mother-in-law. "Who do you think you are?" she demanded. "I know everything." Ken sneered at her. "Stop talking nonsense and go study. You don't want to end up like your mother," he spat. My mother-in-law nodded in agreement. "Exactly. Ella needs to focus on studying so she doesn't turn out like her mother." Ella stood her ground, her voice unshaken. "You think I don't know?" she said defiantly, her words carrying the weight of everything I had been too worn out to say. I caught a glimpse of my husband taking extra care of Grandpa's car, and a chill ran down my spine. Could they have intentionally caused the accident? The thought was terrifying. My husband's face paled. "What are you talking about? Stop making wild accusations," he snapped, trying to mask his unease with anger. My mother-in-law opened and closed her mouth, unable to respond. Ella, however, stood her ground, eyes cold and unwavering. "If it's just nonsense, then explain this," she said, pulling out her phone and showing a video. It revealed my father's car, untouched and safe in their garage. Then the voices. "Good thing we left the keys unlocked," my husband said, his tone smug. "How did you unlock the garage?" my mother-in-law asked, sounding suspicious. "I made a copy of the house key," my husband replied nonchalantly. "I borrowed it while Maya was asleep. She didn't notice." The video kept rolling, capturing them laughing as they planned to tamper with the car. "I'll mess with the brakes. Sooner or later, it'll cause an accident," my husband said, his voice dripping with malice. "I won't calm down until someone gets hurt." His mother added, "Yes, let them suffer. That'll show them." Ella stopped the video and looked her father in the eye. "Still think this is a lie?" she asked, her voice cutting through the tension. My husband stuttered, unable to form a response. "Why would a video like that even exist?" he asked, his disbelief betraying his fear. "I filmed it," Ella answered calmly. "What you did to Grandpa's car, and the way you mocked Mom, is unforgivable." Realization hit him hard, and he lunged for Ella's phone. But I stepped in, knocking him down. Years of resentment bubbled up inside me. "You call me violent? What do you call what you just tried to do?" Ella's voice, calm and steady, cut through the chaos. "You should be arrested for this. You're disgusting." At the mention of jail time, both of their faces drained of color. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of power return to me. The years of manipulation and torment were crumbling in the face of the truth. Then I couldn't believe my eyes when my husband raised his hand to our daughter. His hand froze midair when he saw the look in my eyes. "Are you spying on us?" he yelled, grasping at straws. Ella replied without hesitation. "Grandpa gave me permission. I was testing out the new security system I built." He scoffed. "You? Build a security system?" Ella, unbothered, responded, "I've won awards for programming. Unlike you, I've actually accomplished something." He looked confused, as if her words didn't compute. "You didn't even know about the awards, did you?" Ella continued, her voice full of disdain. "While you've been running around being a failure, I've been achieving things you could never imagine. And now you'll face the consequences for your actions." His pride shattered in an instant. Before he could answer, my mother-in-law, who had been silently watching, finally spoke. "Enough. How dare you speak to your father like that?" she barked. "If your mother wasn't so violent, maybe you wouldn't be either." I was speechless. Did she seriously forget that her son just tried to harm our daughter? Ella didn't flinch. Criminals should stay quiet. Breaking my phone was pointless. "The data's in a cloud. You can't get rid of it." "Cloud? What are you talking about?" my mother-in-law asked, confused. Ella rolled her eyes. "Not the sky. The internet. Maybe if you were truly elite, you'd understand how technology works. But your so-called elitism is just a mask for vanity." My husband, now desperately trying to reclaim control, shot back, "Who do you think provided for you all these years? With whose money?" Ella didn't miss a beat. "It's not that Mom didn't work. You forced her to stay home, pretending she didn't contribute. But that ends today." Her words inspired me. For years, I had put up with his control, all for the sake of our daughter. But now, I realized staying in this marriage was hurting her. "She's right," I said firmly. "This marriage is over. You've spent years stripping away my independence and belittling my worth. It's time I take it back." "You think you can survive without me," he sneered. "You've never worked a day in your life." I smiled, cold and resolute. "Do you really think you can survive without me? Who takes care of your suits, your house, your meals? Without me, you're nothing." His voice wavered. "Of course I can manage." "Your voice is shaky," I pointed out. "Are you sure?" Ella added, "It doesn't matter. There's a prison cell waiting for you. You won't have to worry about society's opinion anymore." That broke him. He screamed, running for the cameras, desperate to destroy the evidence. But in his panic, he tripped over my shoes, crashing to the floor. Ella called the police, and within hours, both my husband and my mother-in-law were taken away. The footage, combined with other evidence, sealed their fate. As the trial unfolded, more ugly truths emerged, including shady dealings at my husband's company, which collapsed soon after his arrest. Lawsuits piled up, revealing his mismanagement and cruelty as a leader. In the aftermath, Ella and I began rebuilding our lives. My parents had left behind an inheritance with a will that specifically excluded my husband. It was as if they had foreseen this day and prepared to protect us. I used part of the inheritance to enroll in vocational school to pursue a stable career in welfare. Meanwhile, Ella continued to excel in her passion for app development, dreaming of a future as a programmer. Life isn't without its challenges, but it's filled with newfound joy and freedom. Together, we are stronger than ever. And for the first time in years, I can look ahead with hope. Thanks for watching, stay stunned, and see you next time.